Had to use the trap to jump start the Suzuki so I can get the Suzuki out of the way. I want to put all the gravel there. This battery was really dead. And all of that smoke is from oil that had leaked down onto the engine block. So I just needed some work. Now we had a bit of rain which has filled up the footing a bit, so I've got to get all this water out. Science, baby, science. It's fast enough. And it requires very little effort apart from sucking through the hose to get it started. Glad I've got a slope block in this case. This is still draining. Just keeping an eye on the hose as it gets lower to the bottom. And the cement and sand and gravel has all just arrived. Just got to go bring the bags of the cement down here, down near the closer to the work. Oh, this sucks. Weather said full sun for all of today and rain tomorrow maybe. It's not even midday and it just started pouring on me and I've only just gotten one lot of cement into the end of this footing. Got it done. I'm just waiting for this area to dry a little bit further. You can actually see the standing water on the top that has come up out from screeding. I just need that to firm up a bit more before I can use the stencil to continue this pattern that we decided to put on here rather than just having a flat slab. Fair bit of sand in the ute, and there's a fair bit up the top on the street as well. I'll figure out something to do with all that. It was a day where I almost felt incredibly defeated because it just, when that rain just came through, we had really heavy rain yesterday, and so I had to drain this whole excavation, and the only way to do that was to basically use the hoses as I showed. But then I think I got to the point where just down there near the sheds wasn't low enough to actually get the gravity going for the water, so I had to run the longer hose all the way down the yard, and then they'd get blocked with crud, mud, that sort of thing. But when that rain came through, it just kept filling the holes, and because one of the holes is right next to the pond and the sandstone shelf that it's on, the heavy rain was actually draining through from the sandstone shelf, and it just kept filling up that hole. But it eventually stopped raining. Not a cloud in the sky now at 6:30 at night. Power also tripped out at one point, and it was only the ground floor, and turned out to be my extension lead. I thought it might have been the plug I'd plugged it into, but the mixer just stopped working, and then my wife messaged me and said power's out, but all the lights were still on and everything. Went and checked the box, and it had tripped, because I unplugged the mixer and it still tripped. I unplugged the power cord and it didn't trip, and then I went and plugged the power cord into the shed thinking it might have been this power point, and then it tripped off the shed. So my really good 30-metre extension lead is kaput. It's probably got a broken lead somewhere in it from being twisted and wrapped and rolled and everything like that. Happens, doesn't it? Just slowly cleaning up the tools and packing up and waiting for this cement to harden enough to be able to use that template. But the rain really did slow this process down. Really slowed it down.
Happy Pi Day. Technically, it's not. It's 3:15 today, so Pi Day was yesterday. But our maths faculty like to do a thing every year celebrating Pi Day, and they've got a bit of preparation for it coming up, and I think it's year 12. They raise money by selling hot pies and apple pies, and a few years back they made pie t-shirts so that we could all recognise Pi Day. They do a thing with who can remember pi to the most digits, and they stick up posters of pi around the school. That's today. So yesterday it rained all day, so I'm really glad that I got that concreting done on Saturday and got it all covered over. The only thing that I had to go out, or the only thing I made sure that I went out and did yesterday, no, I had to do it at the end of the day on Saturday, because I knew rain was coming. I got all of the sand gravel mix that I had left up on our curb, shoveled into the back of the truck, and reversed it down. I picked up all the plastic and everything that I had laid down, because I didn't want to block that pathway, because our postie rides his motorbike along there. I got that all up and out of the way, and so yesterday I had to get all of that sand gravel out of the truck, and I just put it into the trailer. So I backed up to the trailer and just shoveled it from one tub to another yesterday, and it was raining, so that's the only thing that I did yesterday out in the yard. Checked on the concrete, it was looking good. The cover I'd put over it had basically protected from the heavier rain that we would have had, prevented any excess moisture getting into it. It was looking okay from under the plastic, and I hope it looks okay otherwise. I'll probably take the plastic off the Savo. I'm going to leave the formwork on until next weekend. Despite what the weather said, woke up this morning to this beautiful clear sky and a crisp 9 degrees outside at the house, But the weather report had said it was going to be raining all day today. Now apparently sunny all day today and rainy every day for the rest of the week. The day of sun's going to be good for pie day as well, because they sell the pies and that out on the quad. Got a fairly light day today, but a long one still. Being Monday, it's exec meeting after school, and then I've got uni. Thankfully uni's online, which means that I can just head back to the house and engage in uni. I think it's for lectures and even for tutorial groups, the online method with video now is so much better, because our online one tonight is live, so you get to interact with your lecturer and with the other people in the group. I'm really liking this way of study. Would have hated it if I had to do it the old correspondence way, where they would mail or email your assignments and some sort of learning management system, and what was the name of that one? I've had a complete mental blank on what the learning management system is that TAFE uses, because I've used that a few times with Cert 4 upgrades. It's effective and efficient, but it's not very engaging. I guess you could almost say that was the same with our original use of Edmodo and Google Classroom. It was just all text-based back and forth. Or here's a video, here's your assignment. It's a perfect way for doing that. But now being able to add interactiveness of having live video meetings, we can't really do that with high school students. There is privacy concerns around that. And even that course I did the other Thursday last week, using Microsoft Teams and being able to be on video with multiple people and share our screens and talk back and forth in real time, just like you're at a conference sitting around a group table. That was perfect. It would have been more perfect if I'd have been allowed to do it from home. But for adult education, I think there's going to be an increase of online university courses and college courses and TAFE courses, anywhere where you don't have to demonstrate physical skills. I think a lot of the trades will still have to be on site, because you get access to your equipment you might not otherwise have, like apprentices and that sort of stuff. Their day at TAFE, I dare say, will still be a day at TAFE. Who knows? Just speculating and letting thoughts out of my head. Just finished year 10. Another student getting set up and practicing. I'm really impressed with this one, because he has been just using the skew. I showed him how to use the skew chisel, and he's been using that to turn this down, so he's getting quite a nice clean job. Here, the lathes were actually all running today, so that was really quite incredible, really, to me. The girl who was doing the mallet has now gotten up to the point of getting ready to put it together. I've cut the little slot in the top of the handle. It's a little bit of a loose fit. With the glue and the wedge, that should open up enough to be able to basically secure the head. We'll see how that goes. One of the hardest things of running a workshop, especially when there's multiple different projects going and you've got kids running all over the place, is checking that all the racks always have stuff back in them. And with the lathes, the kids will swap the tools, because not all the racks have the exact same tools. I just basically created the racks based on what was lying around the workshop and the storeroom. I found a lot of things. So when I made all these racks, it was like, let's try and get a skew and a gouge and a scraper and a parting tool, and that's what. So there was one of each of those things. The bowl gouges, the face plates, all the little parts here, and I know that I didn't have full sets. So when there's nothing in the machine, I've just come along and tried to grab everything out. And I've noticed this one doesn't have just a plain dead center, but it's got the drill bit. It's got the Jacobs chuck. This one, which is the one that's on display most of the time, is the one that's got the
the fullest rack. The only two things that are missing are the two things that are in the lathe right now. However, the shifter's disappeared from it. And they could be just around the workshop. It's really difficult. This one doesn't have a Jacobs chuck. I'm not sure if it ever had one. This one actually has a full rack, full tools, everything there. And as you can see, well, there's a number 1, there's a number 3, and so it is a case of the kids swapping the tools around when they're using them. They feel comfortable with one tool, they'll go, oh, this one's not working, I'll go and pick another one. And then on top of that, you've then got the other tool rack to keep an eye on. Most of our tools are on that one rack there. Goggles down the front, sometimes the goggles will disappear, and then you'll find them under tables or behind machines, and it's one of those things. The things that sort of got turned, we had one who was kind of into Harry Potter, so he was trying to turn a wand. Another one who I said had to do another practice. He sort of did some practice for getting ready for his handle of his mallet, so he wants to actually do this sort of a patterning on it. One who was just basically practicing curves, like for a handle shape. Still have the usual students who don't want to engage, but that happens. And then they'd come in here and watch some of the others and show a bit of interest, so they might come in. But our college is currently going through a review with a panel that's been coming in and wandering around the school, getting to see how the school's run, observing classes, observing teachers, and interviewing all the executive as well as students and staff. And it's going to go for about 3 days. Today's our first day, and I'm on the roster for being interviewed after lunch with one of my other staff. So we'll see how that goes. The other campuses have already had it, and they've said it was a good process. It wasn't too stressful. But I'm going to get some lunch, get some stuff organised. I've got to go get some stuff out of the construction room.
The interview with the review team went pretty well. It was very relaxed and casual, and asked questions and asked us to answer as candidly as possible. It actually went quite well. I had one of my staff members with me at the time, and we both answered the questions as we saw fit, and went for about half an hour, and the time seemed to fly. It felt like it went faster than half an hour. They've got another 2 days of it. Interesting to see what the outcome is, because I think I said it before, it's a college review. So they've been going around to every campus and doing this, and we're the final campus. Not really sure the entire reason for the process, whether it's to evaluate the efficacy of the college as a whole, or each of the individual campuses, or because there were questions about the college, which was set up. I think the college got set up in 2000, and I started there in 2005. Just a little bit of back history on our college. Many years ago, back in about, I think it was 1995 or 96, one of the Sydney newspapers took the year group photo of a group of Year 12 students from one of the high schools at Mount Druitt High. Put them on the front page of the paper with the headline, "The Year We Failed." In terms of university entrance results, that year group had fairly low results. The school and the students took the newspaper to court, and I believe they won damages. Can you imagine being one of the students on that front page? Because it was a small year group, so it's not like you wouldn't recognise them. Just to have that, "The Year We Failed." And the department ended up doing a review, and they were basically saying it was way back when you could leave school at the age of 14, 9 months if you had an apprenticeship. Or you could get to the end of year 10 and get your school certificate and leave, which is what I did when I was back in high school. I went back and did year 11 and 12 later. The department decided that in areas like ours, it would be better to set up colleges and have several junior campuses, 7 through to 10, so up to the school certificate, and then a senior campus for the students who wanted to go through to do senior study. And so they figured they would be the more serious students. They could go along to a senior campus with only senior students and get the best out of their education. And ours wasn't the only area that they did that. So they basically took several schools in our area, turned them into 7 to 10 campuses, removed the 11 and 12 from them, and students from the campuses, if they wanted to go through to year 11, 12, went to a senior campus. At our campus, the community argued and said, no, our school is a special case as it's built on one large site and goes from preschool to year 12. And the families in the community really love the fact that their kids could go from preschool to year 12 on the one site. They just felt that it was beneficial. And so when the college was being set up, we ended up getting several junior campuses, ours, which is 7 to 12, and then a senior, which is 11 and 12. And there's a couple of other colleges like that around the state. One set out towards Dubbo, out west. One on the central coast. There's one up on the north coast, north of Newcastle. I think there's one down south. A few years back, they changed the rules for school. They got rid of the school certificate, so there's no actual leaving certificate in year 10 anymore. Students had to stay at school until at least the age of 17, unless they had work or other education like a TAFE to go off to. So that means that our students get to year 10, have to go through to year 11 and 12 because they're young and they only turn 17 in year 12. Some turn 17 in year 11. And that's happened while I've been at the college. Really interesting to know what the situational analysis is of doing this review of the college, how each campus runs. I'm wondering if they're thinking of disbanding the idea of the college. I don't know. But apparently, whatever recommendations come out of this review, what they write up as recommendations to the college and to each campus, mandatory. We have to do what their recommendations are. I guess that's probably the scariest part of this, because you go, school's running well. What do we need to do?
There it is. Just took all the plastic off it. And I think the effect has come out well. But I'm going to leave the formwork on until the weekend, just really let it set before peeling it away too soon.
Not a lot to kind of report for today. It's like it was a cloudy day, it was a nice day, it wasn't hot, wasn't cold. Year 7 ended up getting to have their gala day, so they were out of the school for the day. On my timetable, it was a full day. It's also the day that I sort of allocated myself to it being theory classes all day, basically. So nothing in the workshop. Working with Year 11 on Cluster A and safety and identifying hazards. Year 12 working on project planning still. I think we came along a bit with one of the students in trying to work out his material usage out of the sheet material out of the plywood. Looking at the way he was doing his SketchUp, suggested some ways that he could shorten his process by changing a few things, and the fact that would broaden his range of skills that he's demonstrating as well. So Year 12 construction, also theory on concreting and formwork, and Year 10 was safety and a bit of evaluation of their projects that they've done so far. Paperwork galore in the afternoon. That's always the case. There's always paperwork, especially with the vet courses. Uni last night didn't really happen in a sense, because the lecturer kept saying that he would post Zoom meeting links inside an email for us, and he didn't, and so I ended up getting home, getting my dinner and all that sort of stuff, and got up into the study and logged on to uni. And he put up all of the resources for this week and the instructions for that, and then said, we'll have a Zoom meeting on Wednesday. So, meetings tomorrow night rather than last night. I went through all the resources that he posted and read stuff, and one of them was to do a SketchUp drawing and run yourself through the training guides that are available for SketchUp, and then basically submit your drawing. So I did that. I thought, well, I know how to use SketchUp, so I'll do that, submit it, then get on with the other stuff we've got to do.
Another class with Year 11. Class wasn't completely full, but it was a full group, and they even commented that they felt that they worked really well, even though it was a really full class. Like, just about every table had crowds of people around it. And again, clean-up's been excellent. There's a small group that clean up after everybody for them. Coming along well with their joints. There's some that are getting pretty close to getting their joints finished, which is really good. Even some of the ones that were a bit disengaged before are working well, so it's these are the lessons where you feel good about what you're doing afterwards. So end of the day, I think I forgot to mention before, happy St. Patrick's Day. Just had Year 12, I had one Year 12. I know that granted 2 are off on work placement. Another one I think is out on school business for something. No, another 2 are out on school business for something. But there were 2 that I had in class this morning for timber that didn't come to construction. And a few others that are just, they're away. I mean, you're allowed to be away. But for other ones and some that were apparently at school today, that can be a little deflating. Can't do group work, and we're doing concreting. So the one student who did come, he ended up doing a step formwork, which is a second task, which they have to do individually. So he worked out all his sizes off a plan, cut all his pieces, and he still needs to assemble the formwork, but he laid it all out dry just for me to check all the measurements, and they're all spot on. So what he's got to do is assemble the formwork now, and we can sign that one off for him. We've got a staff meeting, so I better get going. Well, it seems Year 12 had better things to do than come to class this afternoon. There's 2 on work placement, so fair enough. There were 2 that came to class this morning because they had a first period as well. And I noticed there was a few legitimately away, but there was several that arrived during the day, and they all signed out at lunch. There'll be some follow-up on that. Year 11 today, period 2, they were excellent working on their joints exercise. Some of the others that sort of have taken their time getting started have really gotten engaged now, and they're starting to work really well. The class was really active, and they clean up beautifully. This is how they left the room. It's like they pack up really well. I need to fix a couple of saws because these rivets in them, these ones always seem to pop out on one side. I end up replacing them with a bigger aluminium rivet, which I got down in the other wood room, which because I'd used them in those saws. So I'm going to bring down some here, and I spent the time fixing up my saw racks so they go in and out a lot easier. Made the slots a little bit wider. The day is almost over. It's a Friday afternoon. Got a few things to do before I leave the school.